The call for help. Jack Carter wiped the sweat from his brow as he tightened the last bolt on the station's water filtration unit. It was just another quiet day on Outpost Theta, a small human-run repair station floating near the edge of known space. The job was easy, but boring. Fixing broken tech, running diagnostics, and drinking too much coffee. Jack leaned back, stretching his arms. He had been working alone for months now, with only the station's AI, CORA, to keep him company. QORA, play something good, he muttered. A robotic voice replied. Defining good is subjective, Jack. Before he could argue, a sharp beep filled the air. A distress signal. Jack frowned and spun his chair toward the control panel. He hadn't heard one of those in weeks. Out here, deep in space, most ships had emergency backups. If someone was calling for help, it meant they were really in trouble. The signal flickered on his screen. Unidentified sender. Unknown planet. Jack hesitated. A trap. A pirate trick. He had seen worse, but the message that followed caught him off guard. Human. Help. Pipes broken. Emergency. Come fast. That was strange. The words were simple, direct, but something about them felt off. The signal repeated again, same message, same voice. A female voice. Jack tapped a few buttons, scanning for more details. The location was a small jungle planet, barely on the charts. No registered colonies, no trade routes, just a big green ball floating in the middle of nowhere. He exhaled, thinking. Could be a trap, he muttered. Possibility. 47%. TORA responded helpfully. Jack scratched his chin. Pipes broken. What kind of distress call was that? Most ships sent detailed SOS signals with ship models, damage reports, or life support statuses. This was just 2 sentences. But then again, something about the urgency in that voice. It didn't feel like a lie. Jack sighed. Boredom was a dangerous thing. All right, CORA. Set course for the signal, he said, buckling into his seat. The AI beeped in acknowledgement. And soon, Jack's small repair ship, the Rust Bucket, fired its thrusters. The descent. The jungle planet loomed ahead, thick with swirling clouds and deep green terrain. As he got closer, Jack's scanners picked up strange energy fluctuations, like static buzzing through the air. That's odd, he muttered. Unknown energy signature detected, CORA added. Jack slowed his descent, steering toward the distress signal's coordinates. Through the cockpit window, he saw towering alien trees, their leaves glowing faintly under the dim sunlight. Strange blue rivers twisted through the land, shimmering as if alive. A landing pad appeared, a small metal platform, covered in vines and rust. Jack narrowed his eyes. Someone built this. Someone lived here. His ship touched down with a light hiss. He powered down the thrusters and grabbed his toolkit, making sure his sidearm was strapped to his belt. He wasn't looking for trouble, but out here, trouble didn't need an invitation. The airlock hissed open, and humid, warm air rushed in. Jack stepped out, boots sinking slightly into the mossy ground. The jungle hummed around him, filled with distant clicks and chirps. And then he saw her. She stood at the edge of the platform. Tall, silver-skinned, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. She had an almost human shape, but something about her movements, too smooth, too graceful, set off alarms in Jack's head. She tilted her head, staring at him, unblinking, studying. Jack shifted his weight. First contact situations were always tricky. You the one who called for help? He asked. Her lips parted slightly, as if tasting the words before speaking. You, human? Jack frowned. Yeah, and you. A pause. Then a small, almost curious smile. Zyra. He nodded, keeping his posture relaxed. Jack, you said something about broken pipes. Zura's eyes flickered, and for a second, Jack thought he saw a hint of excitement cross her face. Yes, pipes. Inside. Come. She turned and walked toward a metal doorway, vanishing inside the structure beyond. Jack exhaled. Everything about this felt off, but curiosity had already won. Adjusting his toolkit, he stepped forward and followed her inside. Behind him, in the jungle, something moved, and it was watching him. Strange planet, stranger host. Jack Carter followed Zira through the metal doorway, stepping into a dimly lit corridor. The walls were smooth, dark, and pulsed faintly with a soft blue glow. Not human-made. Not any technology he had seen before. His boots echoed against the floor as he walked, toolkit strapped to his side, hand never too far from his sidearm. Nice place, he muttered, eyes scanning the curved hallway. Zira didn't respond. She walked ahead, her movements too smooth, too fluid, like she was gliding instead of stepping. Her silver skin reflected the low light, and every time she moved, it almost looked like tiny ripples shimmered over her body. Jack frowned. Not normal. Definitely not normal. So, this pipe problem, he continued, trying to keep things casual. What exactly am I fixing? She stopped abruptly. Jack barely avoided bumping into her. Inside. She motioned toward a tall doorway at the end of the hall. It slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a massive chamber filled with interconnected tubes, metallic conduits, and thick, glass-like pipes that snaked along the walls and ceiling. Jack whistled. The entire room hummed with energy. The pipes weren't just carrying water or gas. They pulsed with liquid light, a bright, bioluminescent blue that shifted as if it were alive. He walked up to one of them and placed his hand near it. The air crackled, sending tiny static shocks across his fingers. Yeah, this wasn't plumbing. This isn't a water system, is it? Jack said slowly, turning toward Zira. She tilted her head. It is part of us. Jack's fingers twitched near his belt. Us. Before he could press further, one of the pipes shuddered violently, sending out a deep, throbbing pulse that rattled the room. Zira gasped, stepping forward quickly. Her breathing became heavier, and her skin darkened slightly, shifting into a shade of deep metallic blue. Jack took a step back. Okay, that was new. All right, relax, he said. Hands up. I'll take a look, but you're gonna have to explain what the hell is happening here. Zira's glowing eyes met his. There was something in them now, something deeper, a hunger, a need. Jack did not like that look. Still, a job was a job. He pulled out his scanner and ran it over the nearest pipe. The screen flickered, data flooding in, but most of it didn't make sense. Organic material detected. Unknown biological energy signature. Function. Unknown. Jack narrowed his eyes. What the hell are these things carrying? Zira hesitated. Then, her voice dropped to a whisper. Life. Jack froze. You mean? He gestured to the pipes, realization sinking in. These are alive. She nodded. Our species. We do not have bodies like you. We exist within these flows. They keep us strong. Keep us whole. Jack slowly exhaled. Okay. So, not pipes. More like blood vessels. All right, he said cautiously. So if these are part of your people, why are they failing? Zira's gaze drifted to the pulsating tubes. Her body shifted again, silver rippling into a darker hue. Then she said something that made Jack's stomach drop. Because it is our season, and we are starving. Trapped in a mating ritual. Jack did not like the way she said that. A defined season, he asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. Zira took a step closer. The air around her shimmered with heat. Our cycle, she said. We bond with those strong enough to keep our lineage alive. Jack clenched his jaw. Oh no. It finally clicked. The weird message. The urgency. The pipes breaking. This wasn't a repair job. This was a biological mating cycle, and he was the only available donor. Jack took a slow step back, heart pounding. Okay, listen, Zyra. I'm flattered, really, but humans don't exactly work like that. Zyra's fingers twitched, her breathing growing heavier. The glow in her eyes burned brighter. Not good. Jack turned, ready to make a run for the door, but the second he moved, the entire chamber trembled. The pipes hissed, and a deep, thrumming sound filled the air. Jack stopped in his tracks. Zyra's expression changed instantly, from hunger to fear. She whipped around toward the entrance. "No," she whispered. Jack followed her gaze. Something moved in the hallway. A shadow. Large, multi-limbed, crawling, watching. And suddenly, Jack understood. Zyra wasn't hunting him. She was trying to keep him inside. Because outside, in the jungle, something else was hunting them both. Mating season revelation. Jack Carter had seen a lot of weird things in his time. Pirates with cybernetic limbs. AI that spoke in riddles. A space station that ran entirely on biofuel from alien mushrooms. But this was something else. He stood frozen in the chamber, the strange glowing pipes pulsing around him like a living organism, while Zyra, his silver-skinned, otherworldly host, watched the shadow moving in the hallway. Jack's instincts screamed at him. Run. Hide. Fight. Do something. Zyra exhaled sharply, her glowing eyes narrowing. Then, without warning, she lunged forward, grabbing Jack's wrist with surprising strength. "Move," she hissed. Jack barely had time to react before she yanked him through a side door, sealing it shut behind them. A second later, something massive slammed into the metal with a deep, vibrating thud. Jack stumbled back, drawing his sidearm. "Okay, wanna explain what the hell that is?" Zyra didn't answer immediately. She pressed her hand against the door, her skin shifting like liquid metal, merging with the surface. The door glowed, as if reacting to her touch, reinforcing itself. A second thud. Something growled. A low, bone-rattling sound. Jack didn't like it. Not one bit. Zyra turned back to him, her expression tense. They hunt during the cycle. They smell the energy. Jack blinked. The energy? She motioned toward the pipes behind them. They pulsed, releasing faint wisps of shimmering mist into the air. It wasn't just heat. Jack's scanner beeped softly. High pheromone concentration detected. Unknown stimulant properties. His stomach dropped. "Oh, hell no," Jack muttered. "Let me guess. That's a side effect of your season." Zyra nodded, her breathing slightly uneven. "It spreads. Calls them." Jack exhaled. "Them? You mean whatever's outside?" Another slam. A screeching noise. Something sharp scraped against the reinforced door. Zyra's silver skin rippled again, turning a darker shade of blue. "Yes, they take the weak. Those who cannot bond." Jack frowned. Bond. She kept using that word. He had a very bad feeling about what it meant. This wasn't just a job anymore. Jack rubbed his temple, trying to ignore the steady hum in the air, the way his skin felt too warm. All right, time to break this down. Zyra's species wasn't fully physical. Their life force, whatever they were, flowed through the living pipes in this facility. Every so often, they went through a mating season where they needed a bond, some known to stabilize their energy. If they didn't bond, the jungle took them. Jack sighed. "So let me get this straight. You sent out a distress call because your people are, what, dying?" Zyra looked at him, then slowly nodded. "And I'm supposed to, what, help fix the pipes so your people don't burn out." A pause. Then, very softly, "No, not the pipes." Jack narrowed his eyes. "Then what?" She hesitated. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, "You." Jack froze. Oh no. The realization hit him like a freighter collision. He wasn't here to fix anything. He was the fix. Escape plan, not working so well. Okay, nope. Nope. Absolutely not, Jack said, stepping back. I am not signing up for some kind of intergalactic mating contract. I don't care how glowing and weirdly attractive you are. Zira tilted her head, blinking. You do not wish to bond. Jack ran a hand down his face. Look, it's not personal, but humans don't just, jump into life or death mating rituals on a whim. Her glowing eyes studied him. Then, to his surprise, she let out a soft laugh. You think it is only about mating? Jack hesitated. Isn't it? Zira shook her head. No, it is survival. Without a bond, I will not last the cycle. My energy will fade. I will. She trailed off, pressing a hand to the wall. The pipes dimmed slightly, their glow flickering. Jack exhaled slowly. All right. So what happens if you don't bond? You just die. Zira didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked toward the door, the one still shuddering under the weight of whatever creature lurked outside. They take us, she whispered, and we do not return. Jack clenched his jaw. Okay, that was bad. Before he could respond, a new sound filled the air. Not from the hallway. From the pipes themselves. A deep vibrating hum, growing stronger by the second. The air shimmered, and suddenly Jack felt it. A wave of heat rolling through his body, like stepping too close to a reactor core. His heart pounded. His skin felt hot, hypersensitive. He stumbled back, cursing. What the hell is that? Zira's glowing gaze locked onto his. The process has started. Jack's pulse raced. The what now? She took a step forward. The energy is choosing. It will bond soon. Jack did not like the way she said that. Well, maybe the energy can pick someone else. He tried. Zira shook her head. It has already decided. Jack muttered another curse, gripping his toolkit like a weapon. I really hate alien biology. And then the entire chamber trembled, because something had finally broken through the door. The hunt begins. The metal groaned as claws tore through it, revealing a massive, multi-limbed creature with jagged black exoskeleton plating. Its many eyes glowed like burning embers, and its elongated mouth split open, revealing rows of shifting, serrated teeth. Jack's stomach twisted. Oh, hell no. The creature sniffed the air, locking onto Zira. Then, with horrifying speed, it lunged. Zira barely dodged, rolling to the side as the creature's massive claws tore through the pipes, sending arcs of glowing blue energy splattering across the walls. Jack did not wait to see what happened next. He ran. The chase begins. Jack Carter didn't need to be told twice. The second the massive, multi-limbed creature tore through the doorway, he bolted. His boots hit the floor hard as he sprinted down the dimly lit hallway, his pulse hammering in his ears. Behind him, Zira was moving fast too, her silver skin shifting like liquid metal, but not fast enough. The creature screeched, a bone-chilling, metallic sound, and lunged at Zira. Jack skidded to a stop, turning just in time to see her barely dodge. The creature's razor-sharp limbs slammed into the wall, slicing through it like paper. The impact sent a shockwave rippling down the corridor, making the glowing pipes tremble. Jack gritted his teeth. He couldn't just leave her behind. Zira, move your ass, he shouted, grabbing a nearby metal support beam. He swung it toward the creature's head, hitting hard. The impact made a loud metallic clang, and did absolutely nothing. The creature turned slowly, its many glowing red eyes locking onto Jack. Oh great, Jack muttered. Now it's my problem. The thing roared, then lunged at him. Jack had 1 second to react, running for his life. He ducked just in time, feeling the rush of air as the creature's claws missed his head by inches. Without thinking, he grabbed Zira's wrist and pulled her forward. Let's go. This time, she didn't argue. They ran. The creature followed, smashing through the walls like they were made of paper. The hallway was too tight, too enclosed. Nowhere to hide, nowhere to turn. "Zara, tell me you have a plan," Jack shouted as they sprinted. Zara didn't answer. Her eyes were locked ahead, scanning the corridor. Then suddenly, she yanked him to the side. Through a hidden doorway. The second they were inside, she slammed her palm against the wall. The door sealed shut, metal shifting like liquid, forming an almost organic barrier. Jack braced himself, expecting the creature to tear through instantly. But nothing. Silence. Only the sound of his own ragged breathing. Jack leaned against the wall, exhaling hard. Okay. That was fun." Zara didn't answer. She was watching the door, her glowing eyes narrowed. Jack wiped sweat off his brow. Why didn't it follow? Zara turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "Because it no longer needs to." Jack froze. What? And then he heard it. A deep, humming vibration coming from the walls, from the pipes themselves. Jack's stomach dropped. The creature wasn't chasing them anymore. It was cutting them off, trapped in the heart of the hive. Jack's fingers twitched near his sidearm. "Where are we?" Zara exhaled. "The core chamber." Jack frowned. Why does that sound like a bad thing? Zara hesitated. Then, stepping forward, she pressed her palm against the wall. Instantly, the room lit up. Jack's eyes widened as he took in the space. Massive glowing conduits twisted in every direction, pulsating like veins. They ran along the walls, feeding into a massive, pulsing structure at the center, a hive-like mass of shifting energy. Jack's stomach turned. The pipes, the pulses, the energy. "This isn't a building, is it?" Jack muttered. Zara looked at him. "No, it is a living system." Jack swallowed hard. He had been walking inside a living organism this entire time. The truth about the cycle. Jack shook his head. "Okay, start talking. What the hell is happening here?" Zara stepped closer to the pulsing structure, placing her hands against it. The glow brightened, reacting to her touch. "The energy within these flows sustains us," she said softly. "But during the cycle, it becomes unstable. It needs balance. A bond." Jack exhaled. "And that's what you meant by choosing me." She nodded. "You are compatible." Jack ran a hand down his face. "Great. Love that for me." But then a thought hit him. "If this is about energy," he said slowly, "then that thing outside, what does it want?" Zara's eyes darkened. "The weak, those who do not bond, are consumed." Jack felt a chill crawl down his spine. That meant this entire system wasn't just about mating. It was about survival. The creatures outside weren't just random predators. They were part of the cycle. No way out. Jack exhaled. "So what's the plan?" Zara looked at him. "The core will complete the bond soon. When it does, the system will stabilize. We will be safe." Jack crossed his arms. "And by bond, you mean?" She tilted her head. "Your energy will merge with mine." Jack winced. "Yeah, see, I'm not super thrilled about that part." A deep rumble echoed through the room. Jack turned, gripping his sidearm. "What now?" Zara's eyes widened. "They have found another way in." Jack muttered a curse. A section of the wall melted inward, revealing dark, jagged claws. The creatures weren't waiting anymore. They were coming through. Jack's grip tightened around his weapon. "All right. Plan B. We shoot our way out." Zara's glowing gaze flickered. "That will not work." Jack scoffed. "Great. Love the confidence." The wall shattered. The first creature crawled through, its glowing red eyes locking onto Jack. Then another. And another. Jack cursed. Zara stepped closer to the core, placing her hands on it. The energy flared, responding to her touch. Jack saw her skin shifting again, her body flickering between solid and translucent, as if the core was pulling her in. She turned to him, eyes glowing like stars. "You must decide." Jack clenched his jaw. The creatures were closing in. His instincts screamed at him to fight, to run, to survive. But Zyra's words echoed in his mind. The energy has already chosen. Jack took a slow breath. Then, before he could change his mind, he reached out and touched the core. The bigger danger. Jack Carter had made a lot of questionable decisions in his life. Signing up for an independent repair contract in the middle of nowhere. Questionable. Trusting an alien girl who lured him to a jungle planet with a vague message about pipes. Very questionable. Touching a living, pulsating energy core while monsters were crawling through the walls. Possibly the worst decision of his life. The second his fingers brushed against the core, a surge of energy rushed through his body. It wasn't like electricity. There was no pain, no burning. Instead, it felt like something shifting inside him. Jack gasped, his vision flickering between two realities. One moment, he was in the chamber, surrounded by glowing conduits and snarling creatures. The next, he was somewhere else entirely. The vision. Seeing the truth. He saw flashes of Zyra's people, not as physical beings, but as shimmering ethereal entities. They didn't walk, didn't breathe. They were pure energy, flowing through the massive interconnected conduits, pulsing with life. But something was wrong. Their energy flickered, growing unstable. One by one, their light dimmed, until they faded entirely. Jack watched as shadows crept into their world, monstrous figures with glowing red eyes, the same creatures that had been hunting them. They weren't invaders. They were a part of the cycle, a system built on consumption and survival. The weak energy flows, those who failed to bond, were hunted and devoured. Jack's stomach twisted. This wasn't just about Zyra. If he didn't help stabilize the core, her entire species would be wiped out. Back to reality. And immediate danger. The vision shattered. Jack stumbled back, gasping as he returned to reality. His skin buzzed, his veins thrumming with raw alien energy. Zyra was standing before him, watching him carefully. "You saw it," she whispered. Jack swallowed. "Yeah, I saw it." She stepped closer, her silver eyes searching his. "Then you know, we do not take. We do not force. The bond is a choice." Jack exhaled. "And what happens if I say no?" Zyra's gaze flickered toward the creatures clawing their way through the walls. "If the core fails, they will consume us both." Jack muttered a curse. "Fantastic." The creatures attack. The first creature lunged. Jack reacted on instinct, raising his sidearm and firing a shot. The bullet slammed into the monster's exoskeleton, but instead of piercing, it disintegrated into black mist. Jack's eyes widened. Oh, that's not fair. Another creature pounced, its claws swiping toward Zyra. Jack moved without thinking. His body felt lighter, faster, stronger. He grabbed Zyra and twisted, pulling her out of the creature's reach. The moment they touched, the core flared, sending a wave of blinding light outward. The creatures howled, recoiling. Jack blinked. "Ha, that's new." Zyra looked at him, a strange expression crossing her face. The bond. It has already begun. Jack didn't have time to process that, because the creatures were recovering. And this time, they weren't just attacking. They were merging. A new horror emerges. The air rippled as the creatures fused together, their bodies shifting into something bigger, darker, stronger. Jack clenched his jaw. "Oh, come on. That's just excessive." The massive fused creature roared, its limbs snapping like whips, tearing through the chamber. The core pulsed violently, struggling to hold its form. Zyra grabbed Jack's hand. The process must complete. Now. Jack shook his head. "I don't even know what that means." Zyra exhaled. "Then let me show you." Before Jack could argue, Zyra pressed both hands to his chest. And suddenly, he wasn't human anymore, becoming something more. Jack's entire body shimmered, shifting between solid and energy. He felt weightless, untethered, as if he was being pulled into something vast, endless. Zyra's voice whispered in his mind, "Do not fight it. Let it guide you." Jack had no idea what it was, but he didn't exactly have many options. He exhaled and let go. Instantly, the core reacted, its glow merging with his form. He could feel Zyra's presence, her mind blending with his. He could see the flows of energy, the entire structure of her people's world. And most importantly, he could see how to stop the creatures. The final stand. Jack's newly charged form flashed forward, faster than thought. He raised his hand, and pure energy pulsed through his fingers, colliding with the massive creature. The impact sent a shockwave through the chamber, ripping the monster apart piece by piece. Jack's mind raced. The creatures thrived on unbalanced energy. But now, he was part of the balance. He raised his other hand, pouring everything he had into the core. The glowing pipes flared back to life, stabilizing. And in an instant, the remaining creatures screamed as they were pulled back into the system, dissolved into harmless energy. Jack staggered, breathing hard. The glow around him dimmed as his form settled back into human shape. The core hummed peacefully, its crisis averted. Aftermath. What now? Jack wiped a hand over his face. That was a lot. Zyra watched him carefully, her expression unreadable. "You are different now." Jack gave her a dry look. Yeah, no kidding. He wasn't just human anymore. Something had changed inside him. Zyra tilted her head. "You are connected." Jack exhaled. "Does that mean I'm stuck here forever? Or?" Zyra smiled softly. "No, but the core will always recognize you. You are part of its flow now." Jack thought about that, then sighed. "I better be getting hazard pay for this." Zyra chuckled. "Your kind is always amusing." Jack shook his head. "All right. So, what happens now?" Zyra's glowing eyes met his. "That," she said softly, "is up to you." The deal. Jack Carter stood in the quiet aftermath, staring at the now pulsing, stabilized core. The once unstable pipes that had glowed erratically were now humming in a slow, steady rhythm. The chamber felt peaceful, alive, but no longer desperate. Zyra watched him carefully. She stood a few steps away, her silver skin still shifting slightly, as if adjusting to her own new state. Jack flexed his fingers. He could still feel it. That energy. It wasn't human. Not anymore. Something had changed inside him when he touched the core, when he had let himself become part of it. He still looked human, still felt like himself, but he wasn't the same. Zyra took a step forward. "You are different now." Jack exhaled. "Yeah, you said that already." She studied him, her glowing eyes narrowing. "You do not understand what it means." Jack sighed. "I'm getting the feeling that's a running theme today." Zyra didn't smile. Instead, she reached forward, her fingertips hovering just above his chest. Jack felt a strange pull, like static before a storm. Then, a flicker. For just a second, Jack saw himself through her eyes. Not just his physical form, but the energy signature now running through him. Before, he had just been a visitor to this place, a foreigner. Now he was part of the flow. His heart pounded. What the hell did I just do to myself? Zyra stepped back. "You are bound to us now, even if you leave." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "That sounds like a problem." She tilted her head. "Why?" Jack exhaled. "Because humans don't exactly deal with whatever this is. We don't bond with giant living energy conduits." Zyra's lips curled slightly. "And yet, you did." Jack clenched his jaw. She had a point. A very unsettling point. The price of survival. Jack took a deep breath. All right. So let's talk consequences. Zira's expression shifted. Consequences. Jack nodded. Yeah, I just helped save your people, which is great. But what happens next? Am I stuck here? Is this bond gonna fry my brain if I go too far from the core? Am I gonna start glowing in the dark? Zira blinked, as if considering his words. Then, softly, she said, You will always feel the pull. Jack frowned. The pull. She touched her own chest lightly. The connection. The core knows you now. If it is ever threatened again, you will feel it. Jack stared at her, like a cosmic distress signal. She nodded. Jack muttered a curse. Great, so I'm basically on an intergalactic call list now. Zira's lips twitched. It is not a bad thing. Jack crossed his arms. That depends on how often the core has near-death experiences. Zira hesitated, then looked around the chamber. The danger is not over. Jack's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? She gestured toward the core. It is stable. For now. But the cycle will come again. The creatures will return. Jack frowned. So what? I have to come back every time. Zira shook her head. No. But she hesitated. There may be another way. Jack sighed. Oh, I can't wait to hear this. The deal. Zira's glowing eyes locked onto his. Stay. Jack blinked. What? She took a step closer. Not forever, but for a time. Jack rubbed his temples. And do what, exactly? Run maintenance on your people's energy flow. Fight off monsters every time your system breaks down. Zira hesitated. You misunderstand. Jack raised an eyebrow. Then explain it to me. She exhaled. Our people. We do not have physical forms. Not like yours. But when you merged with the core, something changed. You adapted. Jack narrowed his eyes. And Zira hesitated again, then said something that made his stomach twist. You can help us evolve. Silence. Jack felt a slow chill creep down his spine. Define evolve. Zira's fingers twitched, as if she wasn't sure how to phrase it. You are both solid and energy now. You have both states. If you stay, we can learn from you. Adapt. Jack ran a hand through his hair. So let me get this straight. You want me to hang around so your people can figure out how to become more physical. She nodded. Jack was not ready for that responsibility. He exhaled. And what happens if I say no? Zira looked at him for a long moment. Then, softly, she said, Then you leave. And we wait for the next cycle, hoping we survive. Jack clenched his jaw. That was the real choice here. He could walk away, go back to his life, pretend this was just another crazy job. Or he could stay, help them, teach them. Zira took a step back, giving him space. The choice is yours, Jack Carter. Jack exhaled. You people really like putting me in impossible situations, huh? Zira tilted her head. It is not impossible, only difficult. Jack huffed a laugh. Yeah, I've noticed. One last question. Jack turned, looking at the core. It was stable, but somewhere deep inside him, he could feel it. That pull, that connection. No matter what he chose, this place would never really leave him. Jack sighed. All right. One last question before I decide. Zira nodded. Ask. Jack crossed his arms. If I do stay, what exactly do you need from me? Zira studied him for a moment. Then, very softly, she said, We need you to show us how to be human. Jack stared. Oh, that was not the answer he was expecting. Escape and unexpected goodbye. Jack Carter had been through a lot of strange things in his life, but standing in an alien core chamber, glowing pipes pulsing around him, a silver-skinned woman asking him to teach her species how to be human. Yeah, that topped the list. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. All right, let me get this straight. You want me to stick around and what? Teach your people how to have bodies, how to live like me. Zira nodded, her glowing eyes unreadable. Yes. Jack let out a dry laugh. Lady, I'm a repair guy. I fix pipes and engines. I'm not exactly qualified to teach an entire species how to. He waved his hands vaguely. Exist. Zara tilted her head. You adapted without guidance. You changed. You survived. Jack hated how much sense she was making. He glanced at his hands. He could still feel the energy in his body. The core had marked him, changed him. If he left, would he even be the same? Jack exhaled. So what happens if I leave? Zara's gaze flickered. Then we wait for the next cycle. We hope another comes in time. Jack clenched his jaw. He knew what she wasn't saying. If they didn't evolve, if they didn't find a way to stabilize their own survival, the next cycle could be their last. Jack sighed. Damn it. Why do I have a conscience? Zira frowned slightly. Is that bad? Jack smirked. For me? Yeah. A human solution to an alien problem. Jack paced, thinking. Okay. Let's say I stay, for a little while. What exactly would I be doing? Sitting around, meditating. Zira stepped toward the core, running her hands over the pulsing energy. We must learn balance. To become something new, we must understand the old. Jack crossed his arms. You're talking about merging again. She nodded. Not fully, but enough. Enough to share understanding. Jack frowned. You mean like the bond we made earlier? Zira exhaled. Yes, but deeper. Jack sighed. This was a bad idea. All right, he muttered. We try a small test. Nothing permanent. No weird side effects. If I suddenly start floating, glowing, or hearing alien voices in my head. Zira blinked. You may hear voices. Jack groaned. Of course I will. She raised her hands, reaching toward him. Jack hesitated, but then, slowly, he let her touch him. A spark of energy jumped between them, and suddenly, Jack saw everything. The shared vision, what it means to be human. Memories, images. Jack saw himself, through Zira's eyes. Saw the moment he first arrived, his cautious stance, the way he instinctively analyzed everything, trying to understand before trusting. He saw himself joking, cursing, smirking, even when faced with danger. Saw himself choosing to help, even when he could have walked away. Zira didn't understand him at first, but now she did. And in return, Jack saw her world. Saw a species that had never known the physical world, never known touch, pain, hunger, laughter. They had survived for centuries, existing as pure energy, never questioning their nature. Until now. Until they started fading. Until the cycle became a death sentence. Jack finally understood. This wasn't just survival. This was transformation. Zira's people weren't just trying to hold on. They were trying to become something more. Jack's breath caught. Oh. The connection broke. Jack stumbled back, gasping. Zira caught his arm, steadying him. He looked at her, blinking. You really don't know what it's like, do you? She shook her head. No, but I want to. Jack swallowed. His throat felt tight. They didn't need him to fix them. They needed him to show them how to live. The final decision. Jack sighed. Okay. Zira blinked. You will stay. Jack hesitated, then shook his head. No. Her expression fell. But. Jack raised a hand. I won't stay, but I'll come back. Zira's glowing eyes widened slightly. You? Promise. Jack smirked. I don't make promises, but I'm bad at ignoring people who need help. Zira studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she smiled. That is a very human thing. Jack chuckled. Yeah, You'll get used to it. Escape, for now. Jack and Zira left the core chamber, making their way back through the now silent corridors. The creatures were gone. The cycle had ended. For now. As they reached Jack's ship, he paused, looking back at Zira. You sure you don't need me to stick around? Zira shook her head. You have given us enough. For now. Jack exhaled. All right, but if I come back and find out you let the whole place burn down. Zira smirked. We will try to avoid that. Jack laughed. Good. He stepped onto his ship, the familiar hum of the engines filling the air. Zira watched from the platform, her silver skin catching the light, her eyes glowing softly. As Jack lifted off, he glanced down one last time. Zira raised a hand. Jack smirked, then saluted, and then, with a final burst of thrusters, he was gone. Epilogue. A new beginning. As Jack drifted through space, he let out a slow breath. He could still feel the pull of the core, a faint whisper at the edge of his thoughts. He wasn't just leaving a job behind. He was leaving something bigger, something unfinished. And for the first time in his life, Jack Carter knew he'd be coming back. Whether he liked it or not.